Hey everyone, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in to Relevant Jukebox, and today we're going to talk about the latest album from Black Midi, Cavalcade. So this is the second full-length album from the experimental art rock band hailing from London, who had a extremely explosive debut in 2019 with their album Schlagenheim, an eclectic and eccentric blend of post-punk, noise rock, and art rock that pretty much left me frozen in place and wanting to hear more of what they would do next, which could be in like any direction given the pretty wide range of influences that came off of that LP. And weirdly enough, after finally consuming it, it was surprising and almost not at the same time. I do think there are some pretty noticeable improvements this time around though. For one, all these tracks fit together so well and are much more cohesive. There's also this raw, in-the-moment ambience that the recording gives off, like you're in the studio with the band as they're performing the album for you live. And this time around, they're also bringing in more influences in free jazz and art pop, with more pianos and string arrangements and brass instruments worked into the mix. Now, these newer elements are never really shoved into the listener's face in a very overt way. A lot of the thrills of this album still come from the band playing their core instruments extremely tight, as Cavalcade features the band's most intense and calmest sections to date. And getting back to those art pop influences that I touched upon before, I feel like there's a Bjork influence coming through in the vocal department this time around, like on the tracks Marlene Dietrich or Crondo Malasia Patella, which I'm sure I'll never say right, and also on the final track, Ascending Forth. Maybe toss in a dash of like Scott Walker in there as well, but like these vocals come off a lot more romantic compared to others. I also can't help but be reminded of the band's Slint on Diamond Stuff. The atmosphere the band creates with those unnerving icy guitars is pretty much the same exact vibe you get from those isolated feels on Spiderland, but the album doesn't really linger in that mode for too long outside of this track. The rest of the album is filled with a whirlwind of methodical guitar playing on all of these like intense crescendos that get super noisy. I mean, they sound like they could have been lifted off of Swans' To Be Kind in spots, like at the end of the track Dethroned, or also at the end of the track Hogwash and Balderdash, which has the band playing so intense by the end of it that it sounds like they're coming directly out of the speakers when everything cuts off. And if what I've read is correct, these guys are a trio now. I'm not really sure if that's the case, but let me know in the comment section down below. But I thought that was quite interesting, as it doesn't necessarily sound like a trio here. So I mean, overall, I thought this album was really solid. From my perspective, it felt like listening to free jazz mixed with some 90s alt-rock obscurity. The chemistry of the band and just the sheer speed and intensity that they play at on here just kept things like super exciting. I do wish that Hogwash and Balderdash was the concluding track, however, instead of Ascending Forth. I think it was kind of a missed opportunity to end things on a huge bang like that. And I think in the future, they could take things even further down the rabbit hole sonically and keep things refreshing. Maybe add in a new instrument or something like that. I don't know. But listening to this had me extremely excited to finally see the band live. And with that being said, I'm feeling an 8 over here on Cavalcade. So there are a couple cool limited releases of this that I'm looking to track down on vinyl. There is a picture disc that went up through Rough Trade that would look pretty cool if you were going to display it with that cover art, but I'm not really a huge fan of picture discs overall, so I'm probably going to pass on that one. There's a limited release that has a bonus 7-inch flexi disc with the King Crimson cover on it, I believe, so that looks kind of cool. And when those sell out, there's also standard black. And if you have listened to Cavalcade already, let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and share, and if you want more content from me, hit that subscribe button. Peace.